Okay. Thank you for meeting with us. We really appreciate that. So, a quick warning. I'm running on like 2 hours of sleep because our basement's flooding. So, if I don't make sense, just ask me to re-clarify, okay?
All right.
Okay. Um, so, I guess get things off. We had just a few questions on stuff. When a couple times we met, we weren't clear on a few things. Um, I guess Jen, the first one was kind of uh, designing players and actors. Um, in our game, we have the a controlled player, you, the person, and then we also have aliens. Would player and alien be separate classes, or could they be summed under one template and then made into different instances?
Well, let's talk about what are the characteristics of each of these things in your game.
Sure thing.
And
Yeah, so they'll be at each location. There will be a unique alien that will be set, like their name and their characteristics will be set. They won't change. The only thing that will change is their ability to fight, like their damage, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that right?
So players, and aliens have all the same attributes, except for aliens have an extra one called type, which is used for our calculation on certain weapons will do extra damage to them based upon that type. Otherwise, they use all the same attributes for combat as the player does. Um,
okay.
which is they all have a name, they all have health, they have an attack value, which is used to determine to hit them. They have a defense value, which is used against the attack value, and they have a damage, which is how much you take away from their health.
Okay.
The player, you, and the aliens, the enemies, use the same system.
All right. So what percentage of those two definitions would you say are overlap?
Everything but type.
So most of it. And a player is a simple subset of an alien. Is that correct?
Well, the player is you, which is, I'd say, a subset is actor, and so like they would both be instances of actors with a couple extra things.
Well, didn't we just say that the only difference between a player and an alien is the alien type?
Yes.
So what does a player have that an actor doesn't have?
I think he might have some different functions, but attributes
Like,
wise, no, he just has different values, but all the same attributes. So he would be a subset of alien.
so what different operations would you have on a player that you wouldn't have on an actor?
Well, so the player is the only one who can actually make decisions in the game, whereas the alien, like I think that's where we're getting confused in defining exactly what the player is and what the roles are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still kind of confused.
So I guess the argument we had, and Natalie, or the discussion we had was, I was trying to explain that a player doesn't necessarily have to be controlled by you. It's just a class defining a character in the game.
Right. It holds the data that you, as the person playing the game, will want to know. So you can easily have a player who is an actor in the system. So
Mm-hmm.
and then it's just that player is a specific variable that your game control class is going to hold on to and put it in a variable called player. So looking at what you've got, it looks like unless you've already thought of operations that are specific to a player that aren't that a generic actor wouldn't have.
We don't quite have all the operators defined for them yet.
So that's part of this modeling technique. So as you're looking at the data right now, I would say that you would want to have an actor class, and a player would be a specific instance of an actor class. And then you have an alien class that inherits everything from actor and adds the alien type attribute.
Okay. directly from actor or inherit from player. That makes sense though.
Okay.
So player doesn't necessarily need to be its own class. A player is just an actor. And then as you go through this analysis and you find that there are some operations that a player would have that an actor wouldn't have, a generic actor, or that an alien wouldn't have. Well, an alien's already a separate class, right? So there's nothing that says you can't, at some point in the future, create a player class that inherits from actor and adds a couple of things that generic actors don't need to have.
Okay.
Now, let me give you a tip on your operators. So you've got a getter and a setter on the name attribute. I know in the UML that they want to capture all of those, but in a professional setting, that's just noise.
Okay.
So the problem is Java doesn't have the notion of properties built into the language, like Visual Basic or C#, where you've got this property and then you can just say there's a getter and a setter for these things. And then the compiler under the hood does what Java does, where it creates a private variable or a private member in the class, and then it creates under the hood a getter and a setter for you. But you don't ever have to see that as the programmer because it's all done behind the scenes when you build your program.
Okay.
Java doesn't do it that way, so Java forces you to define the private member and then define the getter and setter as need be. You may have some things that are read-only attributes that you wouldn't allow anyone to set, so you wouldn't provide a setter.
Okay.
When we get to Java Beans next week, it's just a protocol about designing your class that makes it really easy to save it to a file and load it back from the file. You'll have getters and setters for everything because it's kind of the default state.
See,
But
I guess for me, that's the hard thing is because we're not playing with it. It's hard to visualize and see what we're doing for me.
Right.
I'm a very
Soon enough.
person.
Soon enough, you'll just be patient. Next week, unfortunately, next week, the lesson teaches you how to right click and say create, and it writes a whole bunch of code for you.
Oh, okay.
And nobody ever takes the time to understand what that code is and why it works. And then they just keep going, and we get to week 8 and everyone says, I don't really even know how any of this works. And then I'm really disappointed.
Oh, no.
But anyway, that's the way it works. And I'm trying to do better this semester about making sure people take time and understand what they've done, because it'll help. But what I'm telling you on the class is I am not going to be upset and grade you differently if you don't have the get and set on the attributes as operators. It's just noise to me. If you have an attribute that says name, I'm going to assume that there's going to be a get name and a set name somewhere defined, and I don't need to see that in the UML. It just takes up space and it doesn't add any value.
Okay. So
Okay.
kind of the functions that are definite to our game.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. Answers another question. Another question we had was you were saying about a 2D or 3D map. We kind of have a 1D map.
Like what?
Basically, it's linear. Here, let me open up Paint. I'll kind of draw it. So we have our locations, and you'll start out on Neptune is the first location, and then you'll have all your other ones. All these are the different locations you go to, and you can spend fuel to go to them. To the next one, it costs 25 fuel. To the one past that, 50, 75, 100. You can only store up to 100 fuel at once. So if you want, you could save up to 100 fuel and jump 3 locations, or you can go to them one at a time. When you get to the last location, the moon, you have to save up 100 to get to Earth because you're going to have to be decelerating into the atmosphere. Is kind of our explanation. So that one
Cool.
you can only do the one jump. So you can't forward jump into Earth. You have to go to the last one, but it's only one dimensional. You only you can't. It's not a grid or 3-dimensional. It's so like when we have to store it, Neptune will be location 1, and the next one will be 2 and 3, and Earth's going to be the last one at 24, 25, depending if we start with 0 or 1. So it's not 2-dimensional. You can only move forward or backwards.
Totally fine.
Okay.
Okay.
So in the lesson, he builds a a 5x5 grid for his map, and a lot of people think that that's the way it must be done, and it's not. So as long as you remember that when we get to that point, it'll be week 10, that you've got a map, be happy with your map. It's a fine map, and what it's doing its job. If it tells the player where they are and what they can do next, that's a good map.
Okay.
Okay.
We're good. Jen, what was some of the other questions we had?
We had talked about the start program and the start the game. In the example menu or the example game that we were looking at, there was a start the program where it initialized all the variables and objects, and where the player was told to enter their first name. Can we lump all of that together, or does there need to be two separate categories there?
In terms of the requirements, or the
in terms of the requirements.
So there's two different things going on. There's two different points of contact with the user. One is the start of the game, and we need to initialize stuff. So we need a requirement that identifies what needs to be initialized. And then there's the requirement that says interact with the user and have them enter their name. So I would say that those are two different requirements.
Okay.
From a modeling standpoint, I don't know that there's much you can do with either of those, right? So we don't have to model that behavior. All we're doing this week is modeling the data itself, not necessarily the behaviors, because we're not modeling our control layer, which is the thing that would do all that initialization of all the data model.
Okay.
Because my kind of thought is you have to start the program, which would load up kind of your main menu to the game, where it has you to start a new game, load a game, or quit. That's kind of, and then when you start a new game, that loads start the game, which loads, you enter your name, enter your ship's name, start these things, get going. That's kind of how it goes.
Yep.
What else do we have, Jen? My mind's going blank.
I think
so many.
I think that we're on track. I did a lot to the diagram today because I think we had some things in there that were not model.
Did you get that from Natalie? Because I don't.
No, I didn't get one from her. I just created a new one.
I understand we do have the paradigm thing made. It's just Natalie's been working on it, so we have it. And I wish I could have shown you that, but
I sent him a screenshot of it.
Get it from her quick enough.
Okay.
But yeah, this is just kind of where we store it for all of us. But she has that, and we have everything that's on here on there as well.
Great.
So I mean, just overall looking, are we on the right track? Do we have kind of everything, or is there certain things we're missing, or anything that we're not aware that we need to have?
No, I think if I remember right, your requirements were missing which part? They were missing the computations or the lists?
We had issues on the list, and then we also didn't have the full spelling on the thing. So like example here, just one of them I kind of
Oh, thank you for that.
I've done a lot of little game designs, like indie development stuff, and they've all just done that. And when you start something, you just kind of emulate what other people do, and it just sticks. So that's where that came from. I never even thought about it; just something that was kind of built into my mind.
I'll tell you a quick story. I was trained in the cut out all the vowels and abbreviate all you can philosophy, and I've spent most of my career doing that. And I work for a company that contracts out to other big companies, and so we have customers that send us work, and I'm working on a project now. I've been on it for almost 2 years, and their contract obligates us to maintain a average variable length of 10 characters. And the reason and a method name average length of 15, the reason they did that is because they hired us to rewrite a major application that they use inside their business. And what we're replacing is so poorly written and poorly designed. And one of the problems they have is they have variables that mean nothing to anybody. And so they want to enforce that we're going to put in some effort and actually describe it. And I'll tell you, I will never go back to my abbreviated ways. It just makes the code so much easier to read and to fix when there's problems, when you don't have to waste brain cycles trying to figure out what that abbreviation meant.
And that makes a lot of
sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And it doesn't take any more time to type those characters unless you're just a horrible typist. and so just
Saves
do
so
it.
much time. Yep.
And half the time you just type a little bit and hit tab because your IDE is going to autocomplete it for you anyway.
Okay. So I think that's kind of the questions we have about the different classes, some of the things. I think the biggest thing is just this is so new to us, and we want to make sure we get it right.
Yep, it's new to everybody, so you're not alone.
Jen, do we have anything else?
No, I think that we're doing great. We appreciate you answering the questions for us.
It's my pleasure. Just wanted to let you guys know I am trying to find a time that I can set up and do a weekly class call with anyone that wants to join in and ask questions.
Oh, that'd be nice.
I'm looking towards a Wednesday to do that. My problem is my time is extremely limited right now. And so Wednesday nights are mutual nights for my daughters, and often they can, I mean, my daughter drives, so but oftentimes we have to be there for whatever reason. And so if I were to do like a 6 o'clock, I know Jen, that would be 9 o'clock for you.
I'm fine. I'm up late, so
Okay.
no big deal.
If I go much later than that, it's easier on me, but harder on everybody else because I'm on West Coast time right now.
Yeah.
But I started doing that last semester, and it was popular for a few weeks, and then it just trailed off, and I got 1 or 2 people, and there's some weeks that nobody showed up. So I waited 15 minutes and then turned it off and went and watched a movie. But I'm happy to do it again, and I'm happy. I loved it when you actually called and wanted to meet, because I try to tell students that I'm available, and I don't know if they don't read the announcements, which I don't think most people do. And but anyway, so I appreciate letting me help you, and hopefully this is beneficial to you.
I really like the Hangouts group, and I wish more people were commenting or posting things. I feel like they only want to post on there if it's serious. But like if they just, I feel like if you have a, hey, I had a question about this, you know, they don't do that.
So watch this. I do this with my team at work. We're all pretty. I'm the team lead, and I've got 13 people on my team now, and we've all been working overtime. I've been averaging 50-hour weeks for the last year and a half.
Wow.
And been a couple of 90-hour weeks in there. But every once in a while, I just pop out and say, "All right, what's next on your playlist?" And we start a little chat on Skype of what's coming up next. Or yesterday, I'm going to post this right now and see what people do. They'll probably be confused by it. I'm just typing real quick. Just check out the class Hangout. All right, fun stuff.
Yep, that's good.
Well, thank you for your help. I think that clarifies some stuff, and if we have anything else, we'll let you know.
All right, feel free to ask. Just so you know, my Friday nights, I work at the Phoenix Temple, so I'm out all afternoon. I get home around 10 o'clock. I usually check emails and the dev forums, so I'll be able to answer questions at night, but if you try to call, I won't be able to answer.
Okay.
All right, you guys get some sleep. Jen, you look tired, and Casey, you're
I'm exhausted. Crazy day. My son just got his license today, so I'm a nervous mom.
Oh, happy day.
Yeah.
It's been flooding here, so I spent my whole weekend dealing with that. And then
You're in Indiana, right?
No, Missouri.
Okay, Missouri. Oh, that's right. Which part of Missouri?
St. Charles. It's not too bad here, but we're staying on my in-laws, and we're in the basement. And
oh no.
It's not like there's inches or anything, but it's our living area. So basically, we're just putting down towels and changing them out every 15 minutes.
Oh gosh,
but
I can't even fathom water like that.
Yeah, and then we ran them through the washer and dryers and put more down. You know, we have like 50 towels.
And wow.
It's not bad, but you know you can't get sleep because you have to check them every like 10-15 minutes. And so like over the weekend, I spent like a day or two with like no sleep and took like an hour or two nap. And then I got a full night's sleep and went to work, but that, you know, I was dead at work. But I just work at Walmart, so it doesn't take any brain power to do that. And then last night it started raining again, so I had to call in and take a nap. But I think it's died down, so let's pray for no more rain.
All right, yeah. See if you can send it our way.
But okay.
All right.
Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
good luck, and just ask questions. The hangout will be better if more people just ask. So if you want to lead the way, then folks will be
I'll try to
excited
be
about it.
casual in there and just kind of get some discussion going.
Yeah.
Looks like Ronald didn't understand my comment. I'll have to go clarify. All right. Well, have a good night, you guys.
Thanks. You too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, Jen. You want to go over anything real quick, or you think we're good?
I think we're good. I kind of clarified a few things. I worked on the diagram. Maybe I'll just send you a screenshot of it so you can see what I've done.
Okay.
And I'll probably have to change a lot on it, but I feel like the more if I can just visually go through it and work on it, then it helps me learn it.
I think we're right.
So
We're overthinking some of the parts. You know, we
yeah,
everything. We just need to make sure we have the things that define our game. The
yeah,
functions that are there, and they don't need to be exactly right. They just need to be there and need to be something.
yeah,
As he says, we had everything but our lists and our computations, and we fixed those. So we have those now. So we have everything.
right.
So we just gotta put it all there. The player, actor, alien thing, it just those don't really mean anything from what he's saying. It just depends on we don't have any crossover. So if there are no functions that the player has that the actor does, then we don't need a player. It would just be an instant of the actor. But if there's
Yeah,
extra operators that the player has, then it needs to be a separate thing that inherits.
yeah,
For example, like he said, that the alien has a type, so therefore it has an extra thing, therefore it needs to be something different. Because
mm-hmm.
it inherits the rest. I think we just gotta get over the fact that a player doesn't necessarily mean someone we control. It's just a class. We can call it class 72, and it's
Yeah,
the same stuff. It's just that's the title we've given it to make it make sense in the game.
right. Yeah, that's the hardest part is trying to rewire your brain
Well,
to make sense of
I think
this.
that's the hard part about a text game is you don't have those visuals there. I've worked in a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
2D gaming stuff, and it's nice to have a visual, something to go off of when you create an instance or an object and stuff. And that's kind of
Right.
how I've learned and gained all my experience. So that's my hard thing is doing these modelings and this stuff without a visual component.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But yeah, that clears that up. But yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. Well, do you want to try and meet tomorrow sometime? What I can't
Yeah.
remember what Natalie said about her schedule tomorrow.
Yeah, just post on the thing. If not, you and her can meet earlier if you want.
Okay.
But I work, so
Yeah. Okay. I'll just continue to work on this and see, and then just kind of share it. And then I think she'll probably do the same.
yeah.
So, and when you can too. And then we'll just make it happen. Right?
Yep. And then we each need to have our own computation that we did. Don't forget that.
Does that have to be due by Saturday?
I think so, but you might want to double check on that, or just ask in the Hangouts real quick.
Yeah. I'm going to ask about that because.
I like that he's okay. Anyway, yeah. I'm gonna end this then if we're all good.
Okay. We're good.